My guest at this time is the creator, founder, owner, leader of Headlocked Comics. He's also going to be here in my backyard of Chicago for C2E2. We're going to be doing a panel on December 11th, and he's got his newest Kickstarter up and running for Headlocked right now, Tales from the Road, Volume 2. It's Michael Kingston. Michael, welcome back to the Wrestling Inc. Daily.
How you doing, man? Thanks for having me back on. I appreciate it. I guess I couldn't, buried myself enough the last time.
No, you didn't bury yourself, Michael. The thing I like about you is A, your hustle, and B, just like the quality of the work that you put out over at Headlock Comic. I was checking over this morning on the Kickstarter. Tales from the Road Volume 2 has already hit its Kickstarter goal. I mean, congratulations. That's got to feel pretty good.
Thanks. It does, to a point, I guess. Like, it's not for me. It's not so much about like a total. It's more about the total dollar value. Obviously, is nice, but we just want readers. I just want people to want to read it. For us, it's more like a pre-order. So, the more the merrier, I guess.
Yeah, for sure. And so because this is obviously the sequel to Tales from the Road. For those that aren't familiar, real quick, it's a really interesting concept. A lot of wrestlers involved. Tell the people kind of what they can expect from the Tales from the Road Volume 2 when it comes out.
A little bit of everything, honestly. One of the fun things about it, Tales from the Road sort of spun out of the initial Headlock series that we do, and it's the idea with Headlock sort of being told towards one person's point of view. We thought it'd be fun to be able to look at other places in the world, in the Headlock universe, so to speak. So, Tales from the Road exists in the Headlock universe, but it's a bunch of standalone stories. They're all fictional, obviously, but they're all co-created by different wrestlers. They're all different genres. They're a lot of fun. We had a lot of different story types, a lot of different themes and artists and whatnot. So there's a little something for everybody, I think.
Yeah, for sure. And the thing I enjoyed looking at the list of wrestlers you have this time. A couple names I recognize from the Headlocked universe, obviously, like a Frankie Kazarian, Jerry Lawler back doing the covers. But a lot of big, I hate to say indie names because Danhausen's with Ring of Honor right now, but Effie, I mean, a really eclectic group you put together for this anthology. How do you pick the wrestlers you want to work with? How do these collaborations usually come about, Michael?
A lot of it is just, to me, if a guy seems creative, if they're into comics, if I have some kind of a chemistry with them, sometimes it doesn't work out. I mean, I've had some guys where we just start hashing it out or whatever, and it just doesn't come together. So what I mean, it's people who want to be there. Like Thunder Rosa loves the X-Men. And that was she had been a guest of mine at Comic-Con a couple times. So like we had a chemistry. We had a sort of understanding. Somebody like Cardona and Myers, a no-brainer.
Sure.
Sometimes the people are people you don't necessarily think of. Sometimes but obviously, I mean, I find the indie guys tend to be more creative because they have to be. You know what I mean? Like it's especially nowadays. You know what I mean? Everybody's fighting for views and whatever. So I mean, like I've known Effie forever. And the thing that sort of cinched it for me was the day that I saw on his merch site that he was selling prayer candles. And I'm like, yo, I want to do something with him someday. And then you just keep that sort of thing in the back of your mind. So it's it's pretty easy a lot of them are pretty easy to come together if you pick the right people, and sometimes it doesn't work.
That's what got you the Effie prayer candles. That's what you got.
It was just something that nobody's done before. You know what I mean? That's so fun, and like, you know what I mean? Like everybody's brains work a little bit different, but you can tell like the people whose brains are just a little bit out there, and I kind of think of myself that way. So like, you're looking for sort of kindred spirits, I guess.
It's got to be fun, Michael, because you obviously have an eye for creative talents for sure, and you're bringing all these people together to kind of tell their stories. With an Effie, for example, is a kind of super progressive plot line we're gonna get from Effie? Like he's really a warrior out there for the LGBTQ community. Is that kind of what bleeds over into his story that he tells as part of this anthology?
it's the first silent story we've ever done. First wordless story. I was always fascinated. There was a very famous GI Joe comic with a Snake Eyes and Storm Shadow story that's wordless that always was interesting to me, and so it is the first story that we've done that doesn't have any word balloons. So it's just the what's going on, and it's uh, it's interesting. I think it's about conflict resolution, and I think it's fun. And we got Joe Hunter to do the art, and I think he's got a very cartoony style, but I don't know, it's real emotive in its simplicity, and he's fantastic. We just collaborated. Joe and I just collaborated on a Into the Cineverse art print for New York Comic Con, which was some of the many different versions of John Cena's movie characters, all on one panel. So,
Wow.
yeah, that was a lot of fun too. But
Did you get to meet or work with John as you were putting that together for the Comic Con or no?
I've met John a bunch of times, so he's real cool. He's always very appreciative of the stuff that I put together. So he's a real good dude. He was very excited to see it. It was more of a surprise for him than anything else. So
He's really like a superhero kind of come to life, right? Like he just
yeah,
looked like somebody from a comic book. I can imagine he grew up just looking at those, being like, I'm just gonna be that, you
I
know?
mean, he's got such a way about him when he talks to people. Like he makes you feel like like you're the only person in the room. Like it's it's a very interesting level of charisma. And I've watched him interact with other people and stuff. I mean, he's always been exceedingly nice. And you know, I will say this in my 10 years of doing this, like almost everybody in wrestling has been exceedingly nice. And every once in a while, somebody's kind of a dick, but I mean, for the most part, everybody's been really good. But like John Cena is like some other level of like, you know what I mean? Like you don't know. Like you never like he could hate your guts, but I don't think you'd ever know. But like I feel like he's just so exceedingly nice, and just the way that he talks to people. I mean, it's an impressive skill that not a lot of people have.
Yeah, well, now he's an actual like comic book star, right? He's Peacemaker, and as nice as John is, there's an edge there with him
I
in comic book world.
I find it interesting that John and Rock have switched wrestler roles on the acting side. Like John was like the kids champion, and now he's a filthy actor almost. He's done all these like sort of filthy roles, and The Rock was a very filthy wrestler, and now he's like Disney champion. It's interesting how they sort of found success, like sort of swapping over to the other side.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. Yeah, 100%. The other name I wanted to bring up was Danhausen, another comic book character brought to life. We were talking about Danhausen a little bit earlier. You gave him the cover, one of these covers, the Creep Show cover. How do you decide what you're going to do with your covers for these headlocks?
We've just started doing variant stuff. This is actually the first time we've done one with like a wrestler featured on it. And Danhausen's another guy who's incredibly creative, and it was just something that hit me the right way. I don't know. It was just something I had an idea for, and it just I was like, oh man, this would be cool. Because normally Jerry does a cover, he does the main cover, and then the last two covers we've done like ensemble covers where people can back to be drawn in on the cover. So the second cover is like is a take on the Grand Budapest Hotel movie poster,
Saw
where all
that.
the actors are on key tags. So we have a couple of blank spots, and then for some high dollar tiers, people can back to be drawn into them, and those things go immediately.
Oh, wait,
Um,
people can pay to be drawn into the book?
yeah, we make them wrestlers.
Oh,
We make a pinup of them as not just a wrestler, as a character in the universe, but we'll make them. We'll make a character of them. We'll put a pinup in the back. Yeah, there's so many fan made characters in Headlock. That's one of my sort of secret weapons. That's helped out is that, and I love it because like people who helped us when we need it the most get to sort of become part of the series, and then every once in a while we'll do something else. Like we had an expansion pack for Champions of the Galaxy in the last Kickstarter, and some of the characters in that were sort of characters that were based off of a tier where they were drawn in as a book, and now they're sort of a main character in the book. And I feel like that's kind of neat. Like, you know what I mean? Like you've backed this one time to do this one thing, but it sort of just keeps on giving, if like, and I love that. It just, I don't know. Everything we've done has always been grassroots and it's always been kind of a fight. So, it's my way of sort of honoring the people that have helped us the most. And I think it's really fun too. You know what I mean? Like we make people into all different kinds of wrestlers and different characters and stuff. And, just and eventually we'll steer them into a tale from the road at some point.
That's so cool. Like to be a fan and be able to just like be like, look, I'm actually in this, right? Like alongside the wrestlers. That's really awesome, man. And with Danhausen, real quick, just kind of put a pin on it. Like, I would imagine you two are like two peas in a pod. I mean, I know you like working with creative types, but he's kind of like on another level, and especially when it comes to like the presentation performance side of it. Like, I would imagine when you get with the Danhausen, you don't just think like maybe a one-off. Like, I would imagine there's maybe a lot more you would want to do with somebody like a Danhausen.
Well, I've known him pre-makeup. So I've been friends with him for a long time, and I've always liked him. So the interesting part about the Danhausen story is it's the first story in Headlock that I don't have a hand in the creative side of it. So one of the things that I've started to do or tried to do, it's been a rough year and a half, I think, for a lot of people. So one of the things I sort of did to try to, I guess, make myself feel better about, I guess, existing is in this
Wow.
sort of society is to try
Whoa.
to, make a tangible difference in the lives of people around me. You know what I mean? Like I can't do anything about, the government or taxes or any of that stuff or, vaccinations, but I can, do more for people that are in my immediate circle. So I can work with any artists I want. I mean, you know what I mean? As long as they're available and I can afford them. But I mean, but my writing friends, a little trickier. So one of the things that I'm doing is I'm opening up a couple slots in Tales from the Road for my writer friends, people that I've wanted to work with, people that I like, people that have helped me. So this is the first story. So Danhausen and my friend Lan Pitts, who he did some work for WWE Comics in some of the books that I was featured in. He's done some. He's got his own series called Beast Heart Strikers, and he's a real good dude. And so I want to try to put a little spotlight on some of the people that have sort of been there for me since the beginning, and who I think deserve a little look, I guess. So I'm going to be probably doing, 2 to 3 slots maybe in future editions. This is the only one in this one. And it's just invite only. Like, please don't bury me with submissions because I couldn't handle it. But, but I just want to try to do, I never intended to be a publisher. You know what I mean? All I wanted to do is make cool comics. And unfortunately, to do that, I sort of had to do that. So I guess I decided to try to lean into it a little bit and to see what I could do about giving some people who deserve it some eyeballs with the little platform that I've created for myself.
Yeah, dude, and it's got to be cool for you to like, watch an Effie, watch a Danhausen, like know them before they popped off, and to kind of now see them in this moment. I mean, you walk into a Comic-Con, you see little Danhausens everywhere now. I mean, that's got to be pretty cool for you to watch play out over these past couple of years.
I mean, it's been that way the whole time. You know what I mean? Like I started out, selling my books on the indies and stuff. And I mean, like, when guys were coming up like Samoa Joe and,
Sure.
Kevin Owens or whatever. And it's just for me now, I've done it long enough. It's just generations of guys. And, in some ways, what's sort of interesting is it makes wrestling real for me in a variety of ways because like I want my friends to win because I know that that's, better for them in their careers. So on some level, you're sort of rooting for people in a real way and not just sort of a, oh, what a nice performance kind of way. But on the other end of it, like it's hard to watch people that you are, excuse me, you're friends with or that you care about, because the damage that they're taking. So like it's tough to watch people take some bumps sometimes. Um, like Christopher Daniels has been one of my best supporters, like from the beginning. You know what I mean? It's he's still out there working, and the him or Jerry or whatever, like it's tough to watch guys like guys go out there and take bumps when I know what the cost of that is, and so it's interesting. It's interesting how what I started out to do and how it's actually affected my enjoyment of the product. I guess it's sort of like I said, it's made wrestling real for me again.
Pretty crazy. Jerry still wrestles. I can't believe that.
He's amazing to me. Like when it's all said and done, like I don't think he'll ever, I mean the guy obviously he's famous across multiple generations, but I don't think anybody will ever give him the credit that he fully deserves. I mean, almost every concept of what we consider modern sports entertainment came out of Memphis. I mean, the use of celebrities, I mean, half of ECW was just ripped from Memphis. And I think anybody with ECW would tell you that. The Shawn Michaels Playgirl thing was, taken from Jerry with his crown. I mean, he's created so many characters. He's done so many things. I mean, to me, Memphis is the Simpsons of wrestling. Like they did it. They've done everything. They did it first, but obviously, history gets, written by the winners, and obviously WWE did it on a larger scale. But almost every concept that sort of is the hallmark of modern sports entertainment. I mean, Jerry wrestled against monsters. He had Adam West as Batman. All those types of things that you'd see later on in in what we call sports entertainment now came out of Memphis.
Yeah. So. Wow, dude. So yeah, you're going to be here in Chicago with me, C2E2, December 11th. Very excited to host this panel. So what exactly can fans expect when they're in the Chicagoland area? They want to come out, see the Headlocked panel. Like, what do you want the vibe of this panel to be? Michael?
We just like to talk about wrestling and comics, and just try to want people to be excited for it. So as of right now, the guest list is Jerry, Matt Cardona, Lan, who I mentioned before, who co-wrote the Danhausen story, and we'll see if we can get another couple of guests. We'll have the Inspiration appearing with us too. I'm just wrapping up a story with them for Tales from the Road for this month. It's a body positivity, body horror type story, sort of filtered through A Nightmare on Elm Street. And it's the longest story we've done, and it's super great. I can't wait for people to read it. So we're really, I think, really kind of hitting our stride on Tales from the Road now. There's a lot of, I don't know, like I'm super excited about all the stuff we got coming up. I'm super excited about all the stuff that we've made, and I feel like if people like wrestling and they like comics or whatever, like I feel like you can't really go wrong with this. Like I said, there's a little something for everybody, and it's all made by people who are passionate about what they're doing.
For sure. All right. Well, hey, Michael, if people want to go support this, find it, pre-order it, where do you want to send everybody right now for more information?
Just all of my socials are Headlocked Comic. Obviously, it's right under here. That's my Twitter. It's my Instagram. It's my Facebook or whatever. That'll have links to the Kickstarter. As links to our web store or anything else, but it's all run by me. So if you got any questions, I'm the person you're talking to. Good to know. But yeah, I mean, we've got 16 days left. We're really pushing to, we always try to push to make the Kickstarter better than the last one, not dollar wise, like I said, but backer wise. So really, really pushing hard to, because the thing is I've got 2 more titles that I'd like to launch. So the easier this gets, in terms of, it's gotten easier along the way. You know what I mean? Like we usually do. It took us 8 days to hit our goal this time. I think it took us 10 days to hit our goal last time. But I mean, like if we can get to a comfortable level, I mean, you die if you saw some of the Kickstarters that are out there. Dan Mendoza, who does Zombie Tramp, interestingly enough, had his first ever convention table at San Diego, like sort of across the way from us. and I bought one of his very first books from him because I try to support. Like if there's creators around me, I try to buy everybody's books just to be supportive, be part of the community or whatever. But like he made $100,000 in an hour. But he had 40 covers for one book. So it's crazy. But I mean, he's built a real sort of strong fan base for what he does. But yeah, I mean, he blew it up. So, you know, I mean, it's always funny because there's always degrees. You know what I mean? Like I've got a ton of friends that would kill to have a Kickstarter that's where mine is at. You know what I mean? And I'm looking down the road. So, we just want to make it. We just want to make it better than the last one, and we just want to keep growing. So, you know, my limit to me is always time more than anything else, and the less time that I have to sort of beat the drum, you know, the more time I can make stuff. And we've got so much cool stuff in the chamber that people haven't even seen yet. So